Okay, in previous lessons I've discussed a lot of different things. I'm going to start with rules with regard to commas, dialogue, and quotes. The reason this is an issue is I've seen this actually occur on the English 10 end of course assessment as well as on the PSAT and the SAT and in other situations. So I'm going to kind of break down the rule into some basic parts. When we talk about commas leading into dialogue, if you start a sentence, like in this case, Mr. Bailey said, you have to lead into the quote with the comma there. And then here's the actual dialogue itself, punctuated on its own. And notice how the period is tucked into the quotation mark. So that's this basic concept of leading into dialogue. You have to put the comma right there, leading into it. Now this is dialogue. In other words, there's a character speaking. Then we move on to the next rule. When you lead out of dialogue and into the sentence, you have to put a comma inside of the quote, especially if the comma is serving the same function as a period, or if the sentence isn't finished inside of the dialogue. And then leading from the sentence back into the dialogue, you have to put the comma in front of the dialogue. Here's the example. You're an idiot, said Mr. Bailey. So now we're into the sentence. We have the comma tucked right here, and we're finishing the sentence, and your teeth are yellow. The only time that we would not use the comma here would be if he was yelling it, like exclamation point. Then it's not the comma there. But if it were just a declarative sentence, then we just keep the comma intact. But if we want to treat it like it's an exclamatory sentence, we have the exclamation point. So here we go. Dialogue, comma, close the quotation, said Mr. Bailey, comma, and then finish the sentence, finish the dialogue. And then notice the punctuation is tucked in. Now, that's dialogue. Now we're going to talk about quotes. In the case where a quote directly flows into the writing, no comma is needed. The board should not take over Northside because we have, and then direct quote, effectively used research and data to drive our decisions and instruction. And I'm going to get rid of this just for the sake of argument or clarity. In this case, we have a direct quote that flows with the writing. This is not dialogue. This is not a character speaking. This is information from another source. So just to recap right quick, leading into dialogue, this comma needs to be there, and then our dialogue. If you're coming out of dialogue, like in this case, you're an idiot, said Mr. Bailey. And then going back into the dialogue, we need the comma. Now, this is for characters that are talking. This is for dialogue. And then the last part is if you have a quote that flows with the writing, you don't need to have a comma leading into or out of it. So that's the rule with commas with regard to dialogue and with regard to direct quotes.